Hey, how's it going everyone? This is K Collections, and surprisingly, many of you players are planning to roll for Emiya Assassin, aka Kiritsugu. I'm just gonna call him Emiya in this video, so please don't get him confused with his son. Without further ado, let's get started. As always, here are his stats. Feel free to pause the video if you want to read the numbers, but I do want to mention that his NP gain off attacks are quite low, and that will affect his overall NP gain during battle, which I will say will be one of his weaknesses. Taking a look at his attack cards, he has 2 Quick, 2 Arts, 1 Buster, and an Arts NP. For hit counts, Quick does 4, Arts 2, Buster 6, Extra 8, and his NP does a whopping 15 hits! Holy crap! So like I mentioned, his NP gain is quite low, and having 2 hits off his arts doesn't help. However, thankfully all his other attacks has high hit counts, which does help. Best way to charge his NP is using 1 arts card first to give the bonus, then rely on his other attack cards. Ideally, Brave Chaining will yield the best results. Emiya can also generate a significant amount of stars due to having good hits off his Quick. Again, you want to Brave Chain so you can use the high hit counts on his extra to generate the most amount of stars possible. Now let's move on to his active skills. Off the bat, I will say that Emiya's skills offer a lot of utility. That's actually one of his main strengths. Magecraft is his most simple skill, giving him an arts buff for a turn. This definitely will help, especially when you Arts Brave Chain with him. If you can't Arts Brave Chain, then activate this before using his NP. With 15 hits plus this skill, it will offer a good NP refund. His second skill will give him Invincibility Pierce while buffing his crit damage, both lasting 3 turns. This is great, especially when fighting against enemies who use evasion or invincibility skills a lot, and since Emiya can generate stars, the increase in crit strength will definitely help him with damage output when he successfully crits. Now there is a downside. Upon activating this skill, it will decrease your team's debuff resistance by 20% for 3 turns. Now if you're facing enemies that doesn't debuff your team a lot, then it doesn't really hurt. However, if you are, then just be careful when activating this skill. For his final and very unique skill, Scapegoat allows you to choose one of your servants to take all enemy attacks for a turn. It will also give you crit stars depending on the skill level. This skill can be very useful to survive single target NPs or to protect key servants for the turn by selecting an ally with some sort of evasion/invincibility skill. You can even target one of your servants with high survivabilities like rulers, servants with defense buffs, or even servants with guts if necessary. If not, you can always just choose someone you hate to die. Now for his passive skills, simply put, both are excellent skills and synergize very well with Emiya. Increasing both star generation and crit strength will significantly boost his role as a crit servant, so honestly I really like these passive. For his Noble Phantasm, it's a single target that deals damage to the enemy while decreasing their MP charge by 1, and as an added bonus, decrease their crit chance for 3 turns. I just want to mention, this NP is not meant to be a killing attack. It can be with the right buffs, CE, support, etc, but the key purpose of this skill is the utility it offers. Being able to decrease MP charge can save your life. Same thing can be said with the decrease in crit chance, and like I mentioned before, if you combine this with his first skill, the 15 hit will give you a nice NP refund. So, my overall thoughts on Emiya Assassin. He's an arts crit focused servant that can provide stars and deal crit damage due to having good hit counts and skills that enhance his crit roll. That aside, he is not meant to be your main damage dealer. What Emiya excels at is his diverse utility that are meant to counter your enemies. Specifically, he shines in fighting against single target NP bosses. So, should you summon Emiya Assassin? Honestly, his skills, which are his strengths, will give you an advantage during certain battles. But that's the thing, Emiya relies on specific circumstances to be fully optimized. Therefore, I have to say if he isn't a favorite character of yours, then save your Saint Quartz. Now please understand, I know he's a fan favorite, and just because I don't recommend a servant doesn't mean they are trash and useless. If you do get Emiya, your team will benefit one way or another. First off, he's a strong star generator, with skills that enhance his crit damage as well. Again, he's a utility servant that's meant to counter enemy bosses. His skills, when timed correctly, will give you an advantage during battle. But as I said, it requires specific situations to be fully effective. So here's the thing. Sync quartz are valuable resources. It's basically money. Whether you're free to play or not, it's money. Whenever you recommend a servant, ultimately what you're saying is, yes, this specific servant is worth spending money on. Though Emiya will help you if you do get him, he's too situational for me to say, yes, all players should spend money on him. Of course, there are many factors that influence our decisions, playstyle for example, or what teams we have, or what CEs we have. So honestly, if you truly believe a servant is worth summoning for, if they're worth spending money and using all your sync quartz on, then go for it. We all have our own opinions. So let's look at his skills again. Because Emiya has poor MP gain, his arts buffing skill is reliant on how fast you can charge the MP gauge. You can of course use it to buff 2 regular arts card, but combining it with his NP will yield better results. His invincibility pierce relies heavily on the type of enemy you're facing. Not all enemies will have a dodging skill, even if they do. It's out of your control on when they use it. When they do use it, typically the skill will last 1 turn, not all, but most. But even so, since only Emiya can do damage, you're not guaranteed on the amount of tech cards he gets. Thankfully, the skill lasts 3 turns, so if dodge is used again or by a different enemy, then Emiya can do damage, but it's still out of your control. You could always just use this to increase crit damage, but like any other servants that has this skill, it relies on his absorption and how many stars you generated for the turn. His scapegoat skill, though amazing when used correctly, relies on your other servants. There are many ways to use this, but it's best used on a servant with a dodging skill, especially to avoid an enemy's single target NP. If broken down a bit, first, it heavily relies on your enemy. If the boss you're facing has a AoE NP, then it eliminates the main purpose of the taunt. Using this for a regular attack is an option, but that would mean either you sacrifice your servant's dodge skill or your target will lose HP. But let's say you are facing the right type of enemy, then it also relies on the availability of the dodge skill. Some servants will have some sort of offensive buff off their dodge skill, meaning there are times you may activate it, potentially leaving it unavailable. Honestly though, timing is everything. Just don't play recklessly and you'll be fine, and this skill isn't restricted to only your ally's dodging skill. You can have different reasons to use this. If anything, you can use this skill to gain crit stars, but the taunt is required, so one of your servants may lose significant HP just for stars. Now, I understand I'm a bit harsh in analyzing his skills. I just want you to understand what circumstances are required for him to be really effective. And keep in mind that yes, his skill plays a huge role for this servant, but it's not his only strength. Team recommendations. Art's team will work well. Having the right servants and CE can really remedy his poor NP gain. I highly recommend Tamamo. She's an excellent choice. You can arts chain frequently, she can charge his NP gauge, heal him, reduce the skill cooldown, be a target for his taunt since she does have defense buff, and she can buff his arts. Helena, Anderson, Waver can help with similar reasons. I also recommend Assassin Shiki. It's funny because a lot of people actually compare these two servants, but she's an excellent servant with Emiya. She's arts focused, can generate stars, efficient in damage dealing, and most importantly, has a dodge skill. CE recommendations. Beast Under the Moon is good to help a bit with MP gain. It also increases his star generation, and as a bonus, heals a bit of HP. Halloween Devil isn't bad either if you really want to focus on MP. Keep in mind, both these are limited CE. so you may not have them. If that's the case, there are similar CE, Divine Banquet or Be Elegant for example. I do highly recommend 2030, as this will give him consistent stars to use. There are of course many other combinations of teams and CEs, feel free to experiment, that's part of the fun. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more FGO videos. Follow me on Twitter if you want updates. But I want to ask, what are your thoughts on Emiya Assassin? Is he worth wailing for? Comment down below, I'd love to know. Good luck on your pulls. Till next time everyone.